Okay.
Annie Bosko.
Yes.
It is just an honor to talk to you.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm so excited to share with everyone some of the you have amazing things you can bring to the world in terms of coping with a very, very, very busy lifestyle.
Yeah.
And stress.
Right.
And how to process things. And we're going to get into all of that.
Working with Melwell Health helps a lot.
It does.
It helps.
It does.
A lot, yes.
So anyway, but it's for those who don't know you, Annie is a very successful recording artist, and she's worked with some very amazing names like Andrea Bocelli and Adele and many, many others. And so I will have a little description in the bottom of some more things that you've done.
Cool.
So people can know who you are.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, I have just, having known you over the years, I'm just always amazed at how you manage your stress during really busy schedules.
Yeah.
Because you have a schedule like I have very seldom seen. Seriously. I mean, and you just keep it going. It doesn't, it's not like you don't stop that much. It just keeps going.
Yeah, but I do have my off days. Like you saw the other day, I was like, I need an off day.
Right.
I didn't get in the car. I didn't drive anywhere.
Right.
I don't really talk to very many people. So I also know that because I go so hard, I have to carve out the time.
Right.
It's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to go on a walk, do yoga, meditate, read, but this is my decompressed day, you know?
Right.
So I do have those days.
But the thing that impresses me most is that you find balance within each day.
Yeah.
Which is, that's one of the things a lot of my clients and people that I work with, and successful people too, have a difficult time with, because they have two buttons. It's full speed or stop.
Right, right.
So it's full speed till you get burnt out, and then you stop. And one of the things that happens when you really start cooking, you got adrenaline going, and then the adrenaline actually, it's like a vicious cycle. The adrenaline creates more adrenaline, and then you feel good about it,
right?
Because you're kicking butt, and you're just going out and you're doing stuff, and it feels really good.
It's an addiction.
It's an addiction, and then that throws you back into it, and then you have to physically tell yourself when you don't have time.
Yeah.
To go for a walk, which you do.
I do.
To do your yoga, which you do, and so tell us a bit about your mental. How are you able to stop your busy schedule and say, okay, so now I'm going to do this?
Well, I think I do it now because for a long time I didn't, and it was just go, and then you don't sleep, and then you don't feel well, and then you feel I'm not as productive. You know what I mean? So I think maturity with maturity comes wisdom, and going, okay, yesterday it was important for me to go hang out with a couple friends and talk and have that social time, because I woke up this morning feeling more regenerated, more restored. It's like finding the balance is actually what's going to make you more successful and productive, because you'll burn out. You'll burn out if you don't carve out time to go on a walk, which I try to walk like about 3 miles every day, because my philosophy is I don't believe humans were put on earth to sit in a chair all day. And it's a struggle with what I do, because I'm in a studio for like sometimes 8 hours a day, or traveling to go play a gig where I'm sitting all day.
Right.
And I just don't believe as humans, you go to Europe, people walk 3 miles a day easy, going to go eat food, going to the market, going to go for stroll by, that's what we're designed to do. We have legs and arms and extremities to be planting or climbing trees or walk, that's what we were designed as humans to do.
Right.
So I think the sedentary lifestyle is really, really destructive to people. And so I try to walk at least 3 miles a day, or 2.5, and I don't run, I'm not an aggressive person. I don't do CrossFit, I don't do aggressive forms of physical workouts, but that's just because it doesn't really agree with me. So I've learned that like doing yoga is helpful, mainly for the breath, aspect, not even so much for the physicality of it. It's the breathing, because I struggle with anxiety, and so sometimes I'll go throughout the day and I'll catch myself like, oh my gosh, you're not breathing,
right.
And so yoga and meditation in the morning, I try to like pray and meditate every morning, and that sort of already you've primed yourself for the day, with like setting that as the first thing that you do. So no matter what happens throughout the day, you've made your bed, you drink water, I've meditated, I've prayed. So already I'm setting myself up for success no matter what comes my way, you know, because you're not going to have successful days. You'll have sad days. You'll have unproductive days. You'll have days where things don't go your way. People cancel on you. You're experiencing sadness or grief or whatever. So it's like I try to control the things that I can control.
Do you remember a time where you did push it too hard and you sort of got to a burnout?
Yeah, and I was chronically sick.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, because
Always
your immune
getting sick.
system. Yeah, your immune
Yeah,
system.
and like popping antibiotics, not, you know, thinking or knowing that was actually destroying my immune system. As you know, compromising your microbiome. It takes so long to build that back. You have to take probiotics, but in today's world, it's like, oh, you have a sore throat. Oh, a Papa Z pack. No, that's not the answer.
Right.
You're making it worse.
Right, and then you learn, and the strange thing about us is we learn a lesson, and then we're good for a while, and then we forget.
So you go back in the cycle.
You almost have to make that mistake a few times before you actually, you turn it into a habit, because what you have is a habit. Mm-hmm. You have a habitual lifestyle that is healthy, that includes the exercise and the breathing and the and it doesn't come easy because, like I said, you know, you'd rather just go and get everything done without. It's like some people say, I don't want to eat. I got too much. You know, I don't want to stop to eat. I have too much to do.
I know. I used to be like that too.
And so you just, as a human, you just have to just stop and recalibrate.
But your body will tell you.
Yeah. And
you'll get sick, or I'll break out with zits, or, you know, your body usually tells you, hey, you're not taking care of yourself.
Right.
Or
and you're
insomnia, anxiety. I'll wake up at 3 a.m. and have, you know, bouts of anxiety. So my body sort of will tell me, like, you got to make some adjustments here.
And you're listening.
Yeah.
Because very often people's bodies tell them, and they're not listening.
Yeah, and you get a major disease because you've ignored something that builds up over time. Our body always gives us signs. There's always precursors and a little warning. Hey, something's wrong, blah, blah, blah.
I call it the canary in the mine.
Yeah.
There's like a little canary in the mine that says, there's something wrong here. You need to... And that is what probably is one of the most important things you can do for yourself, is to get in tune with that, your body, and that little voice in your body telling you something's wrong.
Yeah.
And then you have to just sit and go and, you know, see a health coach, talk to your physician, go online, go on YouTube. You can research so many things now.
Totally.
And then just that, like, this weird thing, I'm having this weird, like, heart palpitation thing. I feel like I can't breathe. What could it be? You know, and then you start doing research, and then you find out. And then you do something about it.
Right. Before going on an anxiety pill, or before having an anxiety attack.
Right. And trying
Which, like, I've had one before, and it's like, if you don't take care of it, you know, then you'll suffer the consequences later. There'll be greater consequences later.
I once read something I thought was just so profound, and it was basically that if you get those warning signs, it's like your check engine light going on.
Yeah.
And so what you can do is you can ignore it. You can even put some tape over it. So if you put tape over it, which is like medication, you won't have the check engine light.
Yeah.
And it won't bother you.
Right.
That's like taking away the symptoms.
Yes.
And you're like driving, because there's no light. I can't see it.
Right, right.
And then your car breaks down.
Yeah.
Because you didn't take care of it.
Right.
And so what you're saying and what you're doing, which is so great, is you see the engine light going on, and you stop, and you do what's needed. It's, instead of going, I can't do it today because I got blah, 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 I got all these schedules, I'm going to now make an appointment and get this taken.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's that mentality. And it's very admirable, I think. And it's the only way to sustain the lifestyle and the tempo of things that you have. Yeah. Yeah. So, and you travel a lot.
I do.
So what do you do to keep healthy during travel? Is there any particular...
Tons of water.
Yeah.
I travel with supplements. I always try to, like, grab a green juice with ginger or something, you know, because sometimes you can't control your vegetable intake if you're, you know, on the road or whatever, fruits, vegetables. So, diet. I kind of learned that if I have lack of sleep, I get on a plane and I have, like, a couple drinks, sometimes I would get sick. So I sort of had to learn the hard way. Actually, I was singing with Andrea Bocelli at an event. I was in New York before that, working, and had a late night. I mean, I don't drink a lot. I had, like, a couple drinks, but even that compromises your immune system, you know? even like 2 margaritas or whatever. Like it can. So I've just learned that if it's travel, lack of sleep, and alcohol
and dehydration,
I'll get sick.
Flame dehydrates you.
Yeah, and you're in a cesspool of germs.
Right.
So I kind of learned. I mean, it's a bummer. I'm singing with this, icon, one of the greatest voices of all time, and I have laryngitis. I did it. I had steroids, and I did it. But that was sort of the lesson of, like, as a singer, you really can't afford to get sick. You can't. And so oftentimes I've gotten sick during some of the most important gigs of my life, and so it's always just a lesson, like, take care of yourself and don't stress out. Don't, psychosomatically, I think I used to make myself sick before gigs because I would freak out and I'd stress out. And I think it's important just to, surrender and take care of yourself and just try not to stress about it.
Right.
You know? And, mind over matter it,
Right, exactly. And so, and you talked about allergies briefly, or I think you mentioned it, but Nashville is such a allergy mecca, the worst.
Yeah.
And so what do you do to manage that?
I eat Now Well Health's food. No, it's true. It's funny. When I break my diet, when I don't eat, food that you prepare, obviously it's gluten-free, dairy-free, preservative-free is the big one. Mm-hmm. When you eat out at restaurants, most food has preservatives in it.
Right.
And so that causes the inflammation in your body.
And the bad oils.
Yeah. And then I get allergies. But if I'm really diligent with my diet during allergy season, which for me is no gluten, other than I'll have, a beer. Like last night I had a couple beers. I will drink beer. So I'll splurge on that.
Right.
It's my gluten splurge. But yeah, if I'm really dedicated with the diet aspect, eating your food obviously helps a lot, the way that you cook, which is amazing. I wish I could always eat like that. But if I eat like that, I find that I don't really get sick.
Right.
And I mean, knock on wood, even, a couple nights ago, I went to go see Kenny Chesney at Nissan Stadium with my friend, 10,000 people. My friend got COVID, and I, knock on wood, I have not gotten it yet. I've been taking tests every day, but part of me wonders if it's my immunity and just that I've tried to build a really good immune system.
Right, and we've talked about this, I think on a daily basis we're exposed, especially if you're pretty active socially, we're exposed to so many viruses and bacteria and various things. You really, the first line of defense that you really have is your immune system.
Yes.
And then everything else. But your immune system is just, it's so crucial.
It's everything.
It really is. And the majority of your immune system is located in your gut.
Yeah.
So if you have issues with your gut, if your gut is hugely inflamed, your immune system goes down.
Right.
That's why stress affects your immune system, because stress affects your gut.
Yes.
When you're hugely stressed, it shuts down your digestive system.
Yep.
That affects your immune system.
Yeah.
And that's when you get sick.
Right.
So it is just, we're just beautifully, magnificently designed creatures.
Right.
And the other thing is, you have to be educated. I think as a human, you have a responsibility to know your machine. It's like you buy a car and you get the owner's manual.
Right.
And it's like, I want to know about this car.
Yeah.
I want to read how this works and what is that button. We don't really, so many people don't really.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever.
Well, and in today's world, there's really no excuse because you have everything on the internet. Everything. Right. I think so much of my health and research has just literally been on the internet or reading books.
And the thing I have found that I also tell my clients is don't dismiss YouTube.
Yeah.
In terms of doing research on your health conditions.
Oh, totally.
Now, there's a lot of things on YouTube that might not be as legitimate, but you have the same when you just do a regular Google search as well. Very often when you do a regular Google search, the first 20, 30 pages are sponsored.
Yeah.
So you don't know really where that comes from, or if it's accurate, or if it's really, how does it...
Yeah. Whereas YouTube might be like more uncensored or less sponsored videos.
So what I do typically is that if I have my canary go off, my little warning light go off, say for instance I have all of a sudden weird eyelid swelling up. I'm just thinking of something. I will just go on YouTube very often. I mean, I go on PubMed. PubMed is a very legitimate website that a lot of physicians use, actually.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So if you want to get the physician's perspective on it, like the real medical perspective on it, that's a good place to go.
Okay.
But if you just want to see what people say in general, sometimes it's not something that's very researched or...
Right.
I would just put in, like in YouTube, I would say exactly what your symptom is and see what comes up.
Yeah.
And then you might also have to kind of scroll down a few.
Yeah, you got to do the research, read comments,
Right, and then get many different opinions on this thing. And if you get to something that's conclusive, where you see, okay, well, this one's saying the same thing, and that one's saying it, they're all saying the same thing.
Yes, there has to be a general consensus that it's all sort of the same thing. You know? Yeah.
And then if you have a health coach or you have a functional physician, they typically have more time to consult about these things.
Right.
You can say, hey, what about this? Could this be it? This thing that we don't know what this is?
Right.
And you have a responsibility now to be your own physician, and you do.
Yeah, we all sort of have to. You sort of have to take your health into your own hands. You have to be your own health advocate, because at the end of the day, no one knows your body like you do.
Right.
You know, no one's living in your body like you are, so.
No, exactly.
You have to be your own advocate.
Yeah, and so how important is your routine? Like you know, your daily routine. You tend to start out with an exercise, right? And how important?
I start out with waking up, and I'm like, you know, I don't wake up like, yeah, so happy the day. You know, I like hate people like that. I had a roommate that was like that. I swear to God, she would like wake up and just like sunshine, you know, like, God, it was amazing. I'm like, I wish I was like that. I like waking up early, but I just don't naturally, I have to work to get to that place of positivity and, okay, what a great day. I love the day. I'm so excited for, you know, generally wake up, make my coffee. While the coffee is being made, I make my bed. That's a big thing that I've started in the last couple years. This morning I woke up late and I had a meeting, so I didn't make my bed, and it like just drove me crazy. I came back and I'm like, oh my gosh, the bed's unmade, you know, and I have to make it because I watched some YouTube video about, he's a veteran, and he talked about just being in the military and how the routine was so important. And one of his things was, when you wake up, make your bed. Because if it's a bad day and everything goes to hell, at least you can come home to a made bed, and it makes you feel better when you get into bed.
Right.
So I think that's important. Make my bed, drink coffee, and then I try to read something, meditate, visualize my goals, do gratitudes, pray. You know, I think pray for myself, for other people. I went to the Tony Robbins seminar a couple years ago, which totally changed my life. And he has a priming exercise he does every morning. It's like gratitudes, you know, but visualize those moments in life where you had so much gratitude and really feel like the gratitude and put yourself like in that feeling. And then a visualization of like a white light, like a healing white light, and you send it through your body and to other people that you love. And then visualize your goals, like 3 goals that you really kind of want to focus on.
Right.
So I try to do that. And sometimes I have like a vision board in front of me where I look at the stuff, and sometimes I don't. And some days I don't do it, but I try to do it most days.
Right. And
then I try to go on a walk and at least do like a walk or yoga. Try to do like at least walk and yoga, or walk and like squats or lunges or some sort of muscle resistance, you know, weight resistance stuff lately that I've been trying to do more of. And then that way, you know, at that point I'm ready to go have a good breakfast and then like go work. And then that way I've already set the tone, so I've already done all that. So then I can go work the rest of the day. Because for me, the worst feeling is hitting like 7 o'clock and you're like, oh, I haven't eaten. I've been drinking coffee all day.
Right.
I've been working all day. I haven't exercised. I feel like shit. You know, and that happens. And there's some days where that is my day and there's nothing I can do about it. Okay, right. So that was what the day was. But if I have 7 days in a row, or 4 days in a row where I was on the program, I can go 1 or 2 days. And my diet's not right, or my sleep, or my work, or whatever is okay, because I've already had 5 days consecutively of being on the program. Right. So, you know what I mean? You just try to like do it as much as you can. And what, in terms of diet, because it's very difficult when you're traveling. So hard
to keep diet up. How do you do that?
Although to be honest, it's easier now than it ever was. Even in Nashville, you know, I'm like, man. there's juice bars and acai bowl places all over Nashville that didn't exist before.
Right.
You know, or like veggie wraps, and you can go get healthy food. And so, and generally when I'm on the road, I can find a market. If I can't find anything out to go eat, I'll just stop at a market.
Right, and some of the health food buffets, like Whole Foods buffets,
yeah, it's
really
great.
Good, you know, if you're on the go and you just want to quickly have something, if you have a Whole Foods, then that would be the one I always recommend to people.
Or food to go. I mean, you're so great at giving me, like, when I'm in Nashville, meals to go, which helps so much, because then I'll be working in the studio and then I have something healthy I can eat from, you know, versus having to Postmate something in, which is it's just not the same quality.
Right, and you can't. If you have to eat real fast and you don't have food, it's hard to get good choices quick.
Yeah.
You have to plan for it a little bit.
You do.
And then when you make reservations, you go out to dinner. The thing that I find that works for me is I have a few restaurants where I have specific items on their menus
that you can trust.
That I know I can trust.
Yes.
That doesn't affect me.
Yes.
And so that is a good habit to have as well.
Huge. And just kind of knowing, like, I watched a Tom Brady interview with Oprah, and she said, do you ever feel embarrassed, you know, with how, like, dedicated you are? Like, what do you do when you go to parties or people's homes, right? Because he is so militant with his diet.
Right.
And he's like, you know, it is what it is. And yeah, like, people make fun of me. He carries around a gallon, you know, jug of water every day. He drinks 2 gallons every day. But look at him. It works. You know what I mean? So who cares if people make fun of you? Or sometimes if I'm out, I'll be like, you know, I'm not going to eat. No thanks. Actually, I have a meal at home that I'm going to go eat, which is usually your meal, and then I'll eat that, and I feel better. And so it's like, you know, you wake up the next morning feeling amazing, and so when you feel amazing, you're like, well, I want to keep doing this, so why would I go do that, you know? You don't.
Right.
So it becomes a no-brainer at some point, because you start to feel so good. And you're like, why would I want to feel like shit when I feel great?
And if you know you're going somewhere where there's going to be bad choices, you eat before you go.
Eat before I go.
Eat before you go.
Yeah.
And what I sometimes do is I will have everything except my salad.
Right.
And so, because very often there'll be salads.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will have a salad with no salad dressing, because the salad dressings are typically from a bottle.
Right.
And it's commercial and it's loaded with preservatives.
Right.
So I will just get a plain salad with some lemon.
Yeah.
And you know, if they have olive oil, great. If they don't.
And who cares if people make fun of you? Because if you feel amazing, then you're not going to care.
No, but you know what? If you're in public, no one looks at your plate.
Right.
You know, if it's a buffet, there's a lot of people walking. If you have a plate of salad, no one's going to say, how come you don't have no one. They're consumed with their own plate.
Yeah.
They don't pay attention.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
So the other thing, when you, like, we used to go to a lot of these, you know, the ASCAP board meetings in New York and all of these big grand board
Nothing
meetings.
like a good banquet chicken.
Like a banquet chicken, and then
the banquet rubber chicken. It's oh my gosh, you wish that I'm like, why do they always serve the banquet rubber chicken?
Hey, but listen, these were good though.
Oh, okay.
These were good. That was the problem. So they would bring these foods with, like, nice sauces, and it's delicious, but you don't know. It could be perfectly good, but you don't know.
No.
So I would just very, very carefully kind of like scoot off the sauces and eat the chicken, you know. And then if you get a dessert, because they'll put this beautiful creme brulee in front of you, whatever. You know you're not supposed to eat it, but you want to be festive and kind of join in, so you have one bite.
Right.
So you just have one bite, maybe 2.
Yeah.
And you go, and you enjoy it. You go, oh my gosh, this is delicious. This is so good.
Right.
But you don't need a 3rd bite.
No.
Because you already tasted it.
Totally. Yeah.
And that really satisfies you. It's like, okay, yeah, I tasted it. I enjoyed it. The 3rd is just going to be a little bit more of the 1st and the 2nd.
Yeah, it's going to make me feel bad in the morning, so I don't want to do it.
So you just let them, no one pays attention, no one notices, you know. So that's sort of what I do. And then if I've been very good, if I've had a really good cleanse and I've been very good, I will eat the creme brulee, because my inflammation bucket is empty.
Right, so you can afford to.
So you can afford to.
Yeah, but then the problem is you're like, oh, I feel fine, so I'm going to keep doing it. And you keep doing it, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I feel awful. You know, so it's funny, it does catch up to you.
It does. So, but if you're in that place where this is like a really special meal and it's really fantastic, go for it.
Yeah.
And then but don't, don't, and then like you said, very often you wake up the next morning and you're like, I think I'm not that bad. Because your inflammation bucket, I call it inflammation bucket, the level of inflammation in your body was low to begin with.
Right.
So you don't feel the symptoms.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with allergies that I find is because allergies feed off the inflammation in your body, if I can control the inflammation in my body through food and lower it, then I'm not as susceptible. Like, I haven't even had allergies since I've been here. The one morning I woke up, and we're like in the height of allergy season where I used to feel like I was dying, like literally, dying. I was congested, I was sick, horrible. The one morning I've been here that I woke up feeling like, oh man, like my head just felt like a headache and like it was just like inflamed. I had eaten out, and I think I'd had something with preservatives in it, because I'd eaten out this dumpling place. It was delicious, this dumpling place. It was great, but it's just like it's not worth it to feel like crap the next morning. So I'm like, I'm not going to eat it again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, and you know what? And it's not that hard. It becomes a lifestyle.
Yes.
It's slightly inconvenient.
Right.
To
be diligent.
But it's definitely worth it. And so, what, like, for up and coming artists, what would be like good stress management advice that you would give to them?
That's such hard advice, because so many artists are alcoholics or drug addicts, and they're amazing, and they're so talented, and that's part of what makes them amazing.
Temporarily.
Yeah, the thing is, you can't sustain on that.
Yeah.
You can't. Your body, and I had a vocal cord injury where I had to make changes. I was taking ibuprofen. I had a whiplash injury, and so I was popping like 4 ibuprofen and playing a 4-hour show, not thinking anything of it. Oh, it's over the counter. It's a blood thinner. So I had a blood vessel in my vocal cord basically rupture. So I think that was sort of a lesson to me of like, oh, you're not invincible. You can't you got to really take care of your body.
Right.
And after a show, if you've been singing really hard, it's okay to talk like this, or be like, hey, like, let's talk outside, not over the loud band, and like really treat this thing. It's a precious instrument. It's not it's not a drum set. It's not a guitar. It's not a piano. This is like your body. So I think as an artist, just be like mindful, and know that you can do certain things temporarily, but you can't do it in the long run. You can't. You see people kill themselves, literally. Right. Either die early, or you see people destroy their voices and then they can't sing anymore, and they sound like they can't perform anymore as they get older. So it's like you can only do it temporarily.
That is good advice, because I think especially when you're young, you think you're invincible.
Of course.
And you don't even think of that as like you said, an instrument that could go down. It could actually break.
Well, and any rock star that's had longevity that's still doing it, they got sober at some point.
Right.
Because you just can't booze like that. Or take drugs. You can't, and do it later on in life. At some point, they had to get sober. So.
Right. No, so if, like, in terms of your career, just sort of like as an interesting sort of like a highlight that you had that you can think of, that is like something that you can share with people, because that to me, or actually part of my program, the joy that you experience in life is considered primary food.
Oh, cool.
What you eat, the regular food you eat, is considered secondary food.
Oh, wow.
So your joy, your spiritual life, your purpose, all of that is so important. And so with you as an artist, you work so hard. So these joyful highlights, these moments, that's your soul food in a way, because that's why you're doing it. So
totally.
what comes to mind?
There's been so many different like highlight moments over the years of things. I think the highlight of singing at the Staples Center for like a sold out arena kind of a thing, like that used to give me like an adrenaline high, and now writing an amazing song kind of almost does the same thing, now. And even producing a song with my producer and getting the arrangement right and going, let's try this, let's sing it like this, and then hearing the end product going, oh, this is amazing. I get the same high off of that.
Right.
I get a high off of standing in front of a crowd and singing a song and hearing them cheer and seeing people cry and seeing that I'm moving people's souls. You know, I think there's joy in that. So it comes in so many different aspects, you know.
Right.
It's multidimensional, really.
And your friend recently who has cancer,
Yeah.
that to me was just amazing.
Oh my gosh,
That really-
that was probably one of the highlights of like the last year
Yeah.
in my life. Like, she's stage 4 colon cancer. They basically told her she wouldn't make it past July, and she's 2 kids. And before going into her next round of chemo, she was like, I'm going on a road trip by myself to Nashville just to like go live it up and go do this. She was here. I put together like a private show for her at the Bluebird, and just seeing her in the audience, so grateful and crying and laughing and smiling, and like the smile on her face, the joy that it brought her. It's like, that's the ultimate,
Yeah.
you know, to know like you can reach into someone's soul who has been fighting so hard
Right.
and is in such a difficult place. But she really sort of has also this new lease on life where it's like live like you were dying, you know, the Tim McGraw song. Like,
Right.
that's where she's at right now.
Yeah, and you have that song, The Fighter,
Yeah.
which is so appropriate because
Yes.
she's fighting for her life. Which
Yeah, oh my God. And then she sent me a video of her listening to it, walking into her next round of chemo, and she's singing along. Like, and you're like, oh my gosh, to know, like, it's still weird. It's like, it's hard to even accept. You're like, how, it's just a gift to think, man, that's where music is something bigger.
Right.
And it's like someone else was in the room that day. Really, God just sort of went, here you go, you know, and like, let me drop you one. And you're like, okay, and you catch it, you know,
Right.
and then you like put it out, and then it affects people and touches people's lives. Like, that's when you really realize there's something bigger going on.
Right. I've always believed that music is, and anything really beautiful for that matter, but I think music is especially powerful
Yeah.
in breaking down walls and barriers that we all put barriers around ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's that moment that brings tears to your eyes, and very
Yeah.
often good music will do that. It'll move you. And whenever you feel moved like that, goodness can come in.
Yes.
Whether it's
Yes.
your higher power that you believe in,
Mhm.
or goodness. It's just goodness.
Mhm.
Light comes
Yeah.
into your darkness.
Totally.
And if you don't ever feel that, you're never moved by music, or
Yeah.
you don't allow yourself to be moved by music,
Yeah.
then you stay closed up and it festers.
And why do you think
You know?
concerts are so big? You know, it's like, why do you think on
Yes.
Saturday night Kenny Chesney's playing for what, 15,000 people or
Right.
10,000? That's why people go see live music, because there's something that happens when you see live music
And shared with others.
that you can't replace. You can't replace it. You can't do it
Right.
alone at home. It's not the same.
And it's
You
part
know?
of the human condition.
Mhm.
We're genetically, I think, predisposed. I mean, when you look at history, you look at how people lived in little villages. They always
Yeah.
had cultural dancing. There was always dancing of some sort.
Totally.
And always public music.
Rain dance, tribal dance. It goes back.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it goes back.
So I think we have a genetic need for that. And when you watch little babies dance,
Yeah.
it's like no one taught them.
I know, they just do it.
It's just part of.
Yeah.
And that's I'm so sad that we don't have more dancing.
Me too. Like, I used to
Yeah.
do Zumba. I even got certified as a Zumba instructor.
Right.
Because I was so into it. And COVID, I haven't been going into gyms, but I used to regularly do Zumba like twice a week. Just because of the cathartic release of Zumba's not about, here's the move and you must be professional like this. It's just about having fun, you know,
Right,
and jumping around, and there's Latin stuff and like different,
Yeah, and it's not
belly
about
dance.
looking good or having the latest moves.
or
It's
the
not-
best body. It's about, and even like belly dance, like women, it's really celebratory of women's bodies and all
Right.
shapes and sizes, and and it's, I'm a huge believer. Sometimes I'll just like blast music in my room and just dance,
You know what? When I was in college, we had a teacher
Uh-huh.
who did this representational dancing,
Mhm.
and so she would put a bunch of people, and it was really interesting because I was studying phys ed.
Yeah.
And I became a teacher, and I was a gymnast.
Right.
So they were students literally from all walks of life. Some of them were like hockey players.
Yeah.
And some of them had nothing to do with dancing whatsoever. They were not interested whatsoever.
Wow.
But they had to go to dance class as part of their curriculum.
Yeah.
So she would put music on, and it would be everything. It could be classical, it could be dance, whatever, and it was interpretive.
Yeah.
And she said, you do with your body,
right,
dancing, whatever the music tells you to do.
I love it.
And if you don't want to, you could just stand there.
Yeah. They actually have a class in LA that's called 5 Rhythms, and the guy is just interpretive. He just turns on all these different kinds of dance, and people just dance, and they're in a room, and just like, it's so fun. I had so much fun.
No, we did that, and I watched it evolve, and so...
You should do that in Nashville somewhere.
I think it's the most therapeutic thing.
Yeah.
And it's very good to get people out of social anxiety.
Totally.
Because in the beginning, they're too scared to even do anything.
Yeah, or even like swing dance back in the day. It's like...
Yeah.
It's funny, we've kind of like lost it in this generation a little bit.
We really have.
Because if you study like going back into timing, whether it's like the Irish jig or the folk dances, right? That like almost... If you were to trace back your ancestry, they definitely had a folk dance or some kind of dance. They all did. A tribal dance,
Yeah.
So.
And we had, growing up in South Africa, we had sock hops.
Oh, fun.
So it was 2 steps, like a really kind of fast 2-step, but you had to take your shoes off. Everybody had their shoes off, and on their side you had to wear socks.
Okay.
And it was fast, so wooden floors, and then you would it was fast. And the entire dance floor would move in a circle. And it was just, you were exhausted at the end of the night, but it was so fun.
So fun.
It was just, and there was no pretense. There was it was none of this cool move thing. It was just nothing.
Just to have fun.
It was just a really, really, so yeah, I would love to. I don't know if that exists in this country. Maybe they had it. Maybe it's like,
I don't know, maybe they should bring it back.
Yeah.
Like I said, they have this class in LA called 5 Rhythms. And they'll play tribal music, they'll play Latin music, they'll play, they'll just do all these different kinds, and people just go have fun and dance.
I went to see cloggers. Have you ever seen clogging?
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's the kind of joy that's in there.
Oh my gosh.
That's very similar to the sock
And
hops.
you have to be gifted to do that. Like that requires a lot of technicality, and it's hard.
Right.
No, it's amazing.
But it's really, I mean, I've always thought...
Or tap dance, another one. I want to try tap dancing.
Yeah.
I've wanted to learn how to tap dance. I haven't done it yet, but...
Yeah, because it's musical and it's rhythmic, so you have all that. Yeah, no. And so, what are your thoughts on, like, functional medicine? Because, it's one of the hurdles of being a health coach is explaining to people the importance of functional medicine, of approaching health from diet, lifestyle, perspectives, as opposed to something's wrong, I'm gonna go and get a pill to take care of the symptom. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I had an experience, they say a lot of times people don't learn something until you're forced to. That happened to me. My freshman year of college, I was chronically sick. Sinus infection, strep throat, this, that. I mean, I was always sick. I was, I'm a freshman in college. You're drinking alcohol, you're going out to parties, you're not sleeping, you're not eating right.
Right.
And I was just taking antibiotic after antibiotic after antibiotic. And finally my ENT said, I can't give you any more antibiotics. Go see this integrative doctor. He's an MD, and he studies holistic medicine, so that's integrative when you combine the two, which I'm a believer of, because I think there are certain things that you need Western doctors for. Like you don't want to die of an infection that you can prevent if you have to with an antibiotic. But for most cases, we take things that we don't even really need to take that could be healed through food, diet, nutrition, supplements, nature. And so I'm a believer in both worlds, and needless to say, I went to go see this integrative doctor. He put me on a supplement plan, a diet plan, and I took lots of probiotics and just went on his plan, and I didn't get sick for 5 years. So after I experienced that, I was like, okay, I'm a believer. That's enough for me to go, yeah, this is real. And ever since then, I think it's just changed my whole outlook.
Right.
And if people get to a place, sometimes people are forced to get to the place where they have to go seek out the other thing, because they're like, this isn't working anymore.
Right.
So I got to go find something else that is. So for me, it's a no-brainer, but that's because I was forced to get there.
Right.
No, and as a singer, you can't be sick. I can't get strep throat. I can't have chronic sore throats. So I think a lot of it's my career because I can't get sick in my career.
And I think prevention
Yeah.
is the key.
Yes.
Rather than trying to fix it, because you're not in a position to fix it.
No.
So,
No, I can't get a sore throat or a strep throat when I have a show tomorrow.
Right.
Or I have an album to record. You can't get sick.
Right. Yeah, because it's not, like when you're working a regular job, you can take time off.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
You have
when you're sitting at a computer, and you can sit at a computer and do this when your throat's all messed up. I can't.
No, so you don't.
And like
have that.
when we get sick, where does it usually live? It's our throat and our heads and our nose and our sinuses.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, this has been so great.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad we got to talk and share.
Thank you.
Share
You
all
have
this.
taught me so much. I think about even from when I first lived with you when I was 19 and I moved to Nashville for the first time. You really opened my eyes to health and diet and nutrition, in a way that no one had before. And you have such a calm demeanor too, which I think is so important.
Right, and it's a not, to me it's not a diet. It's a lifestyle.
Yes.
And so it takes time to change.
When you had to, you're a painter. You can't have rheumatoid arthritis when you have to paint.
Right.
And use your hands. So it's like probably similar for you.
Right.
Where you had to, but you've taught me so much about diet and not diet, lifestyle, nutrition, health, balance,
and finding, and this is the thing that I've said so many times, is finding those food sensitivities too.
Yes.
The things the healthy foods that can trigger your issues that you might not know about.
Yeah, it could be dried mangoes for all you know.
Exactly.
It's
could be anything.
Yeah, it could be broccoli. And you're like, what? I'm eating broccoli. I'm so healthy. Not if you're allergic to broccoli.
Right.
And we all have different food sensitivities.
Right. And so to do a food sensitivity test or do the
Yes.
elimination diet or listen to your body.
Yeah.
And notice when you eat certain things, weird things happen.
Yeah, and it sucks. I love eating tomatoes. I can't do it. And so there's certain things that it's a bummer.
Right.
Like I love grilled cheese, but like
the dairy.
I can't have that cheese, especially in allergy season. I can't do it.
Right.
Other seasonal times I'm okay. So you've taught me so much, and you've been like the best guru to spend time around.
Well,
so,
thank you.
Yeah, I was lucky to be exposed to it at a young age.
It's always inspirational to share some of what you've learned with someone who responds.
Yeah.
You were just and have always been so eager to learn.
Totally.
And then you would share with me some of your wisdom because you have wisdom too because of what your daily life and your schedule and everything.
Yeah.
So it's a give and take, and it's such a wonderful gift to be able to share.
Yeah, I agree.
So
totally. Well, thank you. This has been so fun. Now, Well Health. Thank you for everything.
there we go.
There we go.